afternoon. Welcome to the work session for the Greeley School District 6 Board of Education. Today is April 8th. Right? Yeah, April 8th. Doesn't sound right. Ms. Lemon, the meeting will now come to order. Ms. Lemon, will you call the roll for us?
Director Zari.
Present.
Director Bentley.
Present.
Director Campos-Spitzi.
Present.
Director Mash.
Present.
Director Matthews.
Present.
Director Norwood.
Present.
Director Sullivan.
Present.
All board members present.
Thank you, Ms. Lemon. First up on our agenda is our calendar review. So you should have calendar in front of you. Or if you look in your board docs, find the digital version, but everybody take a look at that. There are a few things that need RSVPs. I'll just go through a few other. We have a site visit to transportation on the 17th. That's the only thing between tonight and our next Board of Education meeting, but following that, for the Boys and Girls Club annual dinner on the 27th of April, do need an RSVP, so please check your calendar or your email so you can accept or reject that invitation. We have a District 6 retirement celebration on May 1st. Hard to believe we're already there. But again, that's an important one. Please try to be there if you can. School visit on the 7th of May. Then the Frontier House breakfast, that also needs an RSVP. Accept or reject that on your calendar. And then another school visit to the D6 Online Academy on the 8th. Work session and Board of Education meeting on the 13th. And then on the 15th of May, we have the United Way Community Leaders Luncheon. It's at 11 a.m. And we do need RSVPs for that. So for those three, Boys and Girls Club annual dinner on the 27th, Frontier House breakfast on the May 8th, and on May 15th, the United Way Community Leaders Luncheon. We need you to either accept or reject those calendar invites, so Ms. Lemon can respond for us. Do you need anything other than just people to accept or reject?
Those are perfect. And then I'm also looking at graduations coming up in May. We'll need people to accept or reject those as soon as possible so we can make sure the seating arrangements and the programs are correct.
Okay. We'll wait before we've got some time before we have to know exactly who's going correct.
A little bit. However, it will be here soon.
It will be here soon, yeah.
Have those already have been sent out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those have been sent out and they're on this calendar that you have before you as well. But take a look at your calendars, and we need several of each graduation. So yeah, as many as we can go to, that's always helpful. Not a problem if we have 7. Sometimes it looks a little light if we only have 2. So we like to have 4 or 5 at each graduation.
Mr. President, how
Yes.
is that determined as to who goes to what graduation? Several of them overlap.
We was overlap with the charters.
Oh,
Right?
how is that?
We don't have any control over those, right?
It is, I want to say it's typically Union Colony that is right.
Yeah, it's on
University
Saturday
as
morning.
well.
Yeah, with Central and University.
Okay, University is not typically overlapped. Usually you'll have Greeley Central, then Greeley West, and Union Colony is often on the same day. It's hard to get someone to go to Union Colony, but as they have
You
their
should be able
own
to get
board.
to all of the traditional District 6 schools graduations if you want to. It's a hall, and it's a busy week, but they're scheduled to where we can get to them all if we choose to.
How many did you go to last year, Brenda?
I think I went to all of them. I didn't go to the charters.
You didn't make the.
I didn't make the
And then
charters. Yeah.
The board member who is assigned as the ambassador typically accepts the class unless you ask someone else to take your place.
So has there traditionally been a board presence at all at the charter school graduation?
Possibly,
Typically, yes.
It's possible. We try to make it. It's just hard to make that Union Colony.
We
It
try
just
to
always
make-
falls right in the middle of the other
A couple
two.
was on University and then Frontier.
Try to.
And it'll be hard for
I know-
University this year.
I know I'll be gone the 25th for the full day. I won't be there anything on the 25th. I said yes to everything, but I'll decline them out.
Natalie and I both have graduates at Greeley Central on the 25th, so we'll probably
That's
see
the
that one.
only one I'll be going to that day.
I'll try to go to some of the ones beforehand.
And we'll give you, you'll have lots of instruction ahead of time on regalia or not regalia, on what time to arrive, where to park. We typically try to save parking at the graduations for board members, and so most of them are regalia. The District 6 traditional graduations are regalia. And so Amy will be getting your stuff to order your regalia for you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or anything that's not on our calendar that we need to look at?
I was gonna let you all know about a cultural opportunity, and that is the Greeley Philharmonic Youth Orchestra is performing on Saturday at 2 p.m. I don't know the location.
It'll be at the First Congregational Church.
At the First Congregational Church. And so that's students from all over Greeley Evans, and directed by this great conductor, Mr. Azari.
Thank you, Natalie.
What time Saturday, you said?
2 p.m.
2 p.m.
Mhm.
Okay, that's great. Anything else we should know about? All right, well, that'll finish up calendar and community engagement. And then moving on to board member comments and reports. Let's see, Mr. Azari, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you, President Matthews. I attended 3 events over the last couple of weeks. I'll go ahead and give a short spiel on each one of them. I attended the IDD Film Festival that took place at Greeley Central High School, and it included films produced by Franklin Middle School's IFL program and the Greeley Central IFL program. I enjoyed the presentations, and I appreciated the time and effort everyone put into creating the films and operating the event. And I look forward to seeing that again next year. I also attended the Dream Team Honors Scholars Banquet, as did a few other board members. And I was very impressed personally with the students who represent District 6 through that program. We recognized 33 students that night, and they all are very impressive people. In reading their bios from the program book, I just put down a few statistics. 24 of them have GPAs of 3.5 or higher, including 11 of them who have over a 4.0, and 2 of them have like 4.5 or higher, which is really commendable. They also participate in just about every activity and club you can think of in the district. Several are in leadership positions as well. Together as a group, they've completed hundreds and hundreds of community service hours, including tutoring students at younger grade levels and participating in our district's internship programs, including at the Poudre Learning Center, Banner Health, the Humane Society, the Lasso Horse Rescue, the City of Evans, ABC Child Development Centers, and the Habitat for Humanity. Obviously, a very accomplished group of students, and 19 of them are planning to stay right here in Greeley and continue on into higher education at Ames and UNC. These students have received support from a myriad of staff members, and I also want to thank them all for their dedication, and their names are in the Dream Team 2024 program book. Finally, a former student of mine who is now a parent of 2 daughters who attend Niwot High School called me and invited me to see her daughters perform at the large group instrumental music festival that was held at Greeley West High School just last week. She was very impressed with our facility at Greeley West and with the festival in general. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the GWHS staff and students, and in particular Mr. Nugent and his students, for producing a well-organized and smooth-running event. I'd also like to recognize the Northridge and Central students who performed that day. They all did a wonderful job, and they brought a lot of positive light to our school district. So kudos to the directors for all their hard work. Thank you, Mr. President. That's all I have today.
Thank you, Mr. Azari.
Kind of slow week for me. I also attended the Dream Team Scholarship Banquet on 3/28. That was a lot of fun, as it is always. A lot of impressive people, as Mr. Azari said. So looking forward to wrapping up the school year, graduations.
Mr. Norwood?
I ramped up my business, so I have been burning the candle at both ends, but I did get a chance to go out and watch Northridge soccer play last week. They took on Riverdale Ridge, and Northridge was victorious, 6-3. And today I got the opportunity to go out while I was working. I took my eclipse glasses and took in the eclipse. So, I don't know about anybody else, but I thought it was kind of cool. So,
Well, that's cool.
yeah.
Dr. Campbell-Spitzing?
All right. So just 3 things I wanted to highlight, and sorry, you had asked for more upcoming events. I did want to talk about another community event. So there is going to be a Holocaust Memorial, actually D6 is a sponsor for the Holocaust Memorial Observances of Greeley in Northern Colorado. I'm sorry, I put a mint in my mouth, but it'll start on April 14th on a Sunday, this coming Sunday at 6 p.m. at Beth Israel Congregation Church on Reservoir Road. And then there's going to be other planned events, including film screenings, presentations, book discussion. But of particular note, one of our Holocaust survivors, Barbara Steinmetz, will be sharing her story on Tuesday, April 16th at 7 p.m. at the Ames Welcome Center. And it's free to the public. So especially that Tuesday, April 16th, 7 p.m. Ames event, I think you won't want to miss. We're only going to have Holocaust survivors for a few more years, as we are all aware. I was able to join Director Azari's Dream Table at the Greeley Dream Team dinner and get to honor so many incredible students with incredible stories of overcoming things, including personal battles with cancer and things of the like. So really impressed with the students. Lots of people want to go into nursing. There were a few doctors. One student in particular was interested in becoming an immigrant lawyer. So just, they're really going to be the our future professionals with those GPAs that you mentioned, Director Azari. I also got to go to Do Tell, which is a community event put on by the Greeley Creative District. It's basically an evening of storytelling, and they choose 6 community members to present. And one of the reasons I went this year is because one of our high schoolers was going to be one of the 6 speakers. So Luluya Tekla shared her story of being bicultural from Eritrean parents and immigrating to the United States, and just her biculturalism as a District 6 student. She mentioned going through Heath Middle School, and I know she went to Maplewood for elementary, so just really special to hear her story. And I got to sit right behind her mom in the audience, and just fun to see her family's reaction to her being on the stage at Union Colony just this last week. So that was really special. And lastly, I got to go to the Wells County Food Bank fundraiser on Saturday called Stone Soup, a great event for such an amazing cause to end food insecurity in Weld County. So I know that they partner with us with their mobile food pantries and are an invaluable resource for our families. So, yeah.
Thank you. Sullivan?
Thank you for putting together all those numbers. I didn't really pay attention too much of what was in the booklet. I read through a few of them and whatnot, but it was a little kind of overwhelming to hear some of their stories because they have come and overcome a lot of adversity in their lives and whatnot. It was pretty telltale for some of these kids that they're going to be very successful. But the thing that I did notice that going through is how they are, none of them picked easy careers. They all picked the very challenging career avenues that they're going to be taking. And those are some tough fields that they're going to be entering into. But the table that I ended up sitting with, it was a group of teachers and administration from, I think it was Alt. And I think that's where they're now getting ready to open a dream team in there. So it was interesting to hear that they've made it. Was Eaton? I thought it was Alt, I said. Maybe it would.
Well, it's the Eaton Alt District, but it's
Okay.
Eaton, yeah.
Okay, yeah, but that, they have made it through their first
It's
year, I
actually
guess, is what they
Platte
said.
Valley with Jeremy Burmeister is actually what it is. Now that I think about it, it's Platte
Yeah, I
Valley.
guess I am getting it mixed up.
Yeah, it's Platte
There was
Valley.
a few at that table.
But
from
it's over
different
there.
schools, but
It's over
yes.
there.
Yeah, so they
You're right,
were,
Taylor, over there.
They were very intense with just hearing the success stories, but I got choked up on a few of those kids, so And I was very proud of our Daniels Fund winner. So I don't know if, I know they announced that he was doing CSU, but I was talking to his mom, and he hasn't quite made that decision yet for the commitment, but he works full-time and he's in school, and he's a pharmaceutical tech over at CVS, and to have somebody working those type of hours, taking on that type of commitment's pretty impressive. So it was fun.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Madam Vice President?
So I regret that I missed the Dream Team dinner this year, but, so I don't know that I have attended any specific school events, sporting events, I guess, but, I wondered if I could ask a couple of questions. One, I wondered if we could hear a little bit about, Representative Caraveo's visit to Nutrition Services. 'Cause
Yeah, I'll
that's-
put something any week for
Okay,
you.
sounds great. That
We can have Danielle put something any week.
quite the honor.
There she go. We can put something any week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Should
I
worry
don't
about
think there's anything we can do about it, but I heard from a Greeley West parent that she's heard a number of FAFSA applications have been rejected for like clerical errors, and mine says I'm missing a signature.
It's a mess. There's not anything we can do. I mean, our counselors are working hard with students to try, to relieve the issues. It is a federal issue. And there's been several news stories about it. It is truly unfortunate.
So, I mean, it sounds like kids will be delayed a
Yes.
semester.
Yes.
Yeah.
It sounds like people will be delayed and denied. And so our counselors and staff are working really hard to do as much as they can, but it's far bigger than District 6. Darn it.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. I don't have much to add. I couldn't make it to many things as either of these last 2 weeks. Week before was Holy Week, and so I had to miss for Monday, Thursday. Always do hate to miss the event though. And then last week I was out of town, so I did catch Pirates of Penzance. I'm saying that right? Pirates of
Penzance.
Penzance. That was great. Chapelo's production of that. Final production for the theater teacher at Chapelo, so it was bittersweet. And then caught some track and field at university as well, but and then did get to go to Dos Rios and meet with a class in Dos Rios, and so that was fun. It's always fun to get to be with kids, get to answer their questions and tell them a little bit about what we do as a board. So that's all I've got. And we'll go right on to our next agenda item, which is our strategic plan update. So Dr. Pilch, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, President Matthews. I'm excited to talk with you all about this tonight and show you where we are and see if there's any final input from the board. So we have taken the draft out a few more times. We've gone to the Teachers Advisory Council, to District Accountability Committee. We went in front of I was actually given an update at the chamber on Friday morning, an update on the district, and we shared some of the revisions with the chamber folks who were in attendance there. So we continue to push this out and to vet it. What I have for you here is a draft of what the new brochure might look like, and with the changes in language inside. I will share that a few slight changes have occurred since the last time that you saw it. We did finalize under student learning and achievement. There was some question about the outcome in 3rd through 8th grade. We did talk a lot with our leadership folks about that, and we feel really strongly that we really do need that focus on all 3rd through 8th grade. We did, if you look down under the second goal under student learning and achievement to the far right, we changed some of the wording there from the educator effectiveness professional practices. It used to say effectiveness standards. We thought professional practices was a little bit clearer. And then we did tuck the outcome under artificial intelligence there, which is develop and implement an artificial intelligence task force. And that task force is up and running. But just those word changes throughout, no substantive changes from when you saw it the last time, really. We did change, if you look under the climate and culture focus area, the first goal of develop cultural responsiveness. You'll see to the right that instead of achievement data it used to say achievement data will improve for students across all demographics. We said graduation data. Because graduation data is really the data we have that is one cohort of students every single year. We're still measuring achievement data behind that and looking at achievement data, but as you know, the data is not the same piece of data at every grade level. And then we changed the language in the second outcome, had read students will respond positively to the annual student survey regarding student support and safety, and we changed that language to read equitable learning environments, which is a better match to our panorama survey and really to the work that we're doing throughout the district. And then the second goal under climate and culture, it was revised since the last time you saw it. Before, when you saw, we had focused on, the goal had said provide systems of support for students and staff, and as you all heard during negotiations and have heard throughout, that systems of support isn't that clear. What we really mean and what it says is support the social, emotional, and physical well-being of students and staff. Pretty straightforward. And then just added the word align in that second outcome, develop, align, and implement. It had read just develop and implement. And then we added the objective, that final objective of update the district-wide plan for crisis response, which is work we've been doing. It's constant, ongoing work, but we really felt like we needed to codify it here in the strategic plan and make sure that it truly lives here. And then, of course, corresponding to that, just going back up the page, you can see that, we have the outcomes to match up. So then there was some discussion, if you want to go over to operational and organizational effectiveness. We did have some discussion there around, well, we've already passed the mill, we've already passed the bond. And so we changed the language on that first outcome to, there was some question about what is that audit opinion, and we said, that we clarified that it's from an independent audit firm in the outcome. And then in the second outcome, it had read, secure the renewal of the mill levy override to provide, if I could read this, local response to support students, and we've changed that language to ensure financial transparency of all district expenditures. So took the focus off the mill levy override when it's really about all of our spending that we do. Added that objective to conduct the new facility audit and update the facility master plan. We haven't updated our facility master plan since about 2017-18 was when we first launched that work last. So we are beginning to do that work again, and we'll be contracting with a consultant to do that work with us. And then the outcome that corresponds with it is to utilize that updated facility master plan for a future bond measure to address ongoing facility and capacity needs. And that doesn't mean we're saying there's going to be a future bond measure, but it means that, if there is to be one, that would come out of the facility master plan work and what's identified in the security master plan. And then finally, as you move on down, you see that we just changed the language to say Greeley Evans. Down there in that middle objective around maximizing recruitment, we had said representative of the community, and we really mean the Greeley and Evans community in both those boxes. And then over to the right, under the maximize the recruitment, hiring, and retention, it had read increase people of color who are interviewed interviewed for District 6 jobs, and we've changed that language to, as you can see, to read increase the overall candidate pool for all District 6 positions and annually increase the diversity of candidates interviewed for District 6 jobs. And then the next box down, again, some similar changes, annually increase the diversity of employees to reflect the student demographic in the Greeley Evans District 6. So those were some pieces we've been talking about at this level, as well as in other groups around what do we mean when we talk about increasing the numbers of people of color. Really what we mean is that our candidate pool should be more diverse, and it should look more like our students. And we need to make concerted effort to work to make that happen. And then If you go on down to strengthening partnerships, you see we added language under the first goal, second objective. It was simply develop and implement staff training to partner with families. And we added to fulfill the district-wide family partnership plan. So there's now a district-wide family partnership plan that has come out of the Family Center and out of this strengthening partnership work that we're clearly focusing on and looking to make some significant movement in that area. And then as you move on down, in the outcomes to the right again, under the communicate and collaborate with external stakeholders, including businesses, local government, and community organizations, we added district departments in that first outcome. It was schools will implement, and it's now schools and district departments will implement the district-wide community partnership plan. So part of this is really just kind of give you a picture of what that might mean. If you look at the next outcome around supporting volunteerism, by documenting and annually increasing the number of students and staff who engage in service to the community. In this goal area, we're really looking to what else can we do for the community? How else can we engage the community with our departments and our schools and our staff members so that we're a partner in the community with businesses and industry and local government and organizations. And we're not just a receiver of what they can do for us, but we're also a partner and that we're giving back. So that's new work for us in that area, and we're excited about it. I'm happy to take any questions or comments you might have. We'd like to begin to move this to print soon so that we're ready to roll with it this spring and into next fall. I learned today from Chief of Communications, Ms. Myers, that our report to the community this year is really focused around these theme areas within the strategic plan. And so they're writing that report in an effort to really look at how we're meeting each of these focus areas and each of the goals and objectives in the strategic plan. So it feels like it's a nice rejuvenation of the strategic plan, and excited to launch this version of Innovation 2030.
Just a procedural question about the student and staff surveys. When are those usually conducted, and how is that information incorporated into the strategic plan?
And we use that information a lot, Mr. Rosari. And so one of the things we talked about with our principals is, are we putting too much reliance on some of that parent feedback data? Because at times, we're not getting as high of a participation as we would like. Panorama, who is our vendor, believes our participation is fully valid and that we have a high enough participation to consider the results as valid results. But we also are looking to see, are there more robust ways we can collect data from students and staff and parents? But the survey starts in February, Stacy, and then kind of goes through the spring. Do you want to cover that?
You want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. So we give a student survey that is on kind of well-being, and that is done pre-post. And so that's done fall and then spring, September and April. And then we give another student survey in the middle of the year that is on classroom environment, as well as the one that we will report on tonight for students in the middle and high school levels on race, equity, those kinds of things. So we'll actually share with you that data tonight. So that's all the student data that we gather, student survey. Then we give the staff survey.
So Stacy, when does that one occur for students?
That one occurs in December.
December.
Mid-year.
Okay.
Mid-year, December. Sorry if I didn't say that. Then in January, we give the staff survey, and now it's in teachers, but you probably took one, but now we actually, for the second year, give that to all staff. So we have that data, and that occurs every January. And then in February, the month that Deirdre just talked about, is this parent survey, parent-family survey. And to the point, we actually have increased in our numbers each year. So this year, we actually had a really good. Much better this year, and we haven't even shared out that data fully yet, as we've just gained that data. So yeah, so that kind of gives you kind of the scope of all.
It sounds fairly comprehensive.
It is. Panorama's a national leader in this type of survey. We've worked with them for almost a decade, I'd say, and they're a national leader in this, and they really learn, what the school districts need: robust information. We need to hear from our constituents, whether that's staff, parents, or students, and we need to be able to use that data to help make our decisions. And we still want more. So typically what we will ask principal, and this year we did do the survey data with some of our support staff as well. So that was new for us this year with some of our support services departments to do that. Second year this year to do that. And so we're expanding that data gathering more so throughout the system. And what we typically ask is when principals or other leaders begin to see some themes that are popping out in their data, that they would then go work with their staff and say, all right, help me to better understand these two things, and do some listening sessions, do some circle work and really understand what does this mean? Because this is a theme that has popped out. And maybe it's a really good theme, and maybe it's something they need to work on for improvement, but to understand a little more deeply what the data means.
And to go one step further with the community in regards to surveys, when we have the internship program, when all these students are out there doing internships, as I recall, we do some sort of a survey or feedback from community partners, as I recall.
Yep. All the folks who take an intern.
And the interns.
Oh yeah, the interns too, of course.
And all that can also be incorporated into this. Great. Thanks.
I had a question under the climate and culture for the graduation data will improve for students across all demographic areas. That it used to read achievement data will improve. Is that right? So what was the data being gathered under the achievement data?
It was the graduation data.
Oh, that was what it was.
But well, for
At
this,
the outcome level it was.
yeah, at this level, it was still graduation. Underneath, we're
Right.
gathering all that data. We sit with you with Dr. Campos Spitzy and walk through all the DIBELS data and the NWEA and the CMAS data. All that data is looked at and is a part of the plan underlying. But what we did here is we codified what we're actually doing, which is what is on the dashboard is the graduation data.
Right.
Under this one. Now, when you get up to the 3rd through 8th grade one, that's where you're going to see the actual data from those other assessments that I mentioned.
And so I remember, I'm trying to remember which document it is, but we get one that's broken up by demographics. It's, talks about Asian students and Black students and white students, Latino students. That will still get that data. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to change any of the data we're reporting to you all unless we add more data, then we'll report that to you as well. This is really about being accurate about what's getting reported on the dashboard.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, Dr. Pilch, looks like we're ready to move along.
Thank you. Amy, do you recall, did we, I don't think we have taken this to the Board of Education for actual approval, right? We've just, it's a working document for the superintendent and I'm held accountable to the data. Okay. So this is it then. We're ready to go then. If you guys are good to go, we're ready to go. We'll begin to go to print.
Speak now. All right, looks like we can move on to our transportation update.
Mr. Henson and team, would you like to join us? Mr. Hawley, come on up. I'll just start briefly with, there were years ago, we would come to you and transportation was a problem to be solved. And we were short drivers, our fleet was failing, we couldn't meet our routes. It wasn't unusual to have parents concerned that they couldn't rely on transportation district. And a decade later, I'm really excited and proud that because of the leadership in our transportation department and our staff in our transportation department and our leadership from Mr. Henson, we are a very different transportation department today than we were a decade ago. And that came from our own people stepping up and saying, hey, this is a problem that we can solve. Let us help you fix this. And so really, a lot of good news tonight and then some next steps and pieces that Mr. Henson and Mr. Hawley will share with you. So as you all know, Kent is the Assistant Superintendent of Support Services. Chad Hawley is our Director of Transportation. And I'm going to turn it over to them now.
Okay, thank you. I noticed that you're visiting transportation here in not too far away. And so I thought, well, it'd be a good time to do an update on transportation. It's definitely been a journey in the last couple of years, having gone through COVID and before COVID and coming out of COVID and everything else. But transportation, unlike a lot of districts, the transportation department here in this district right now is in pretty good shape. So we'd like to tell you about that. And so Chad, why don't you, this is the vision statement.
Yeah, so we will always provide quality transportation for every learner with a focus on safety, reliability, and care and delivery. So that's kind of the goal that we kind of set forth all the time. That's what we preach, is we have one job, and that's to get every kid to and from school safely with the love and care to get them the proper education that they can every day.
Yep, so in this presentation, there's not a lot of words you have to remember. If you remember, safety is always first. If you remember caring, because this is a very caring group of people that we have over in transportation. And then reliable is something that we've tried to work on, because in some points it's been very difficult to be reliable. When I came here and looked at transportation at the beginning and just looked at numbers, we had X number of bus drivers trying to do Y amount of work. And on our best day, if we were fully staffed, we could only be 80% successful. So if that's your starting point, you're in trouble. And so we've done a lot of things, and then we went through COVID. And so we've done a lot of things working with everybody over at transportation. They really work as a team. Chad came on a year ago from January, so he's been here about a year and a half, and I gave him some pretty good directives. I said, "Are you up for this?" And he said, "Yes, sir." And so here we are, and we're in pretty good shape. So who is District 6 Transportation? So, we kind of talked about safety first, and of all the employees that we have over there, there's only 2 that do not drive. So there are a lot of drivers, there are bus monitors, and then there's people that work in the office, there's people that work in safety department, in recruiting. A lot of them are in our mechanics are all driver others. So we have drivers that we start with, and then anybody else can step up and get behind a bus. And so these are just some of the safety things that they do every single day on every single bus before the bus leaves the yard. And so here's our leadership team. You see Patrick and Diane sitting in the back. Chad, why don't you introduce
Yeah,
them?
absolutely, love to. So starting with Patrick, our fleet foreman on the left. Jesus Flores, he's a monitor, but he's got multiple jobs that he does for us. He's our in-house interpreter for Spanish speakers most of the time if we need that. He's also recruiting. He goes out on recruiting so we can recruit, and he can also translate to people that are student management. He also is learning how to be a puppeteer for our safety bee. So you guys will get that. Those of you that are going to come out next Wednesday, you'll get to see him at work there.
Oh, we're behind the curtain.
No, yeah, that's right. You're behind the curtain, but we'll know who you are. Diane is the operations foreman. She's my right-hand lady. And then Shadra, she's one of the trainers that she's been training for 11 years, 12 years for us. So she's here as well.
Okay, and then here's our dispatch and routing staff. Again, these are all driver others. Training in our shop staff, and you can see CPR. So all of our bus drivers are certified in CPR, and they train as that as well. Mr. Azari, you're retired. If you want to drive a bus, we can train you, get you behind the wheel.
I don't know if you're ready for me, Shad.
He's a board member, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Can't be employed.
Sorry.
Nice try.
Okay.
Volunteer job.
Safety and recruiting, they do a great job going out and recruiting for their department. And then here's our mechanic team. And so you'll notice we actually have a full team of 5. You'll see Cammie here working on a tire. She was a Greeley Central graduate. She goes to Ames College to be a mechanic. We hired her as an intern, and now she's working as an apprentice, and she's doing an awesome job. If you remember last year, there was a certain time in the year where we had to do we had not transportation days because we were down to 2 mechanics at one time. And when we were down to 2 mechanics and they had to drive, then we weren't keeping up with our inspections And so we had a lot of red line buses, and we couldn't get enough buses out. So right now, our numbers are good. We have a healthy number of drivers. These guys can work on buses, and they can keep up with their inspections, and we can keep everything moving. There's our shop staff, and then there's a picture of our transportation staff. I think we got most everybody there, but it is a big department, and quite often, there's people out driving buses. So again, when you look at this picture and you look at our numbers, all but 2 people, there's 2 people that are not certified to drive a bus. The rest are all drivers in some form or another. Okay, so how has D6 handled the national school bus driver shortage? These are all articles from last August of last year that around the country, just coming out of COVID, there's a huge shortage of bus drivers. At this time, we were also hurting pretty good. We were down in numbers with our drivers. And so this is from when Chad started, we kept focusing on our statistics. And so I'll kind of lead you through this, but if you look at our total number of employees from January of 2023 to this month, we've seen a 36% increase with the number of employees in the transportation department. That's significant. And with our bus monitors, we've seen a 30% increase. And then with our bus drivers, we've seen a 58% increase. And so it's great that we have all these positions there where people also drive and are driver others. But where we make hay is how many people do we have that can drive? Because drivers equals routes, and routes equals, transporting students. So we've gone from 36 to 57 in that amount of time, and that is an increase that most school districts cannot show. And 150% increase in mechanics, which I told you about that. That is awesome because we also have to keep those buses moving. And so we've increased staffing and retention. This list came out of a group that started at transportation where we asked them, what can we do to try to get more people to apply? When I go to board meetings and I look at that personnel sheet, I look at drivers and I go, good, we hired +3. And then I turn the page and go, for a long time I go, crap, -5. Okay, we hired 3, that was good, and then it was a setback. So far this year, every meeting I've done, it's never been in the negative. It's always been in the positive. So how do we get people to apply to be drivers? And so they came up with a list of ideas. I met with my friend back here, Mrs. Sponsler, and we started talking about, we need to increase our starting pay with our drivers. We started talking about bonuses. Starting bonuses and retention bonuses if we can keep people to stay. Oftentimes, because we train for free, people would come to us, get training, get the CDL, go to the oil field. So how do we get them to stick? Or how do we attract those CDL drivers into our system? So if you're already have your CDL, we'll give you a starting bonus of $3,000. Paid training will give you $1,000 if you complete the training in terms of a bonus. And then retention bonus is $250 4 times a year, so on the quarter. We do that, and that's for all driver others. And then we also, I think what I don't have up here is a while ago when you came in, you started at the bottom of the pay scale. So if we get somebody that comes in with 5 or 6 years of experience, we're going to start you at that, higher on the pay scale. And so a lot of our drivers are making well above the starting pay. And notice that we'll bring them in, pay them at $21.89 while they're in training, and then if they stay, they get a pay bump right after that. And then the last bullet, I think if you talk to our people that do the recruiting, offering a 40-hour week, 12-month driving positions with all the summer school we have, we needed those, but to be able to tell someone instead of saying, well, I'm pretty sure you'll probably get 40 hours. But we can say, yeah, you're a 40-hour employee, and you can work 12 months out of the year. That has really brought in a lot of people into our workforce. So what is our work? We typically run, not a million miles yet, but we're close, 650,000 miles a year. 175,000 of that is projected for trips this year, so that's other than routes. This is down a little bit this year in terms of our mileage because we have used some charters. So for example, we had a weekend in football in the fall. All 3 teams were away. We didn't have the people that could do that, and so they chartered out for some of those. They're also working on making sure we don't schedule that against each other like that. But an increased number of drivers reduces double trips. So instead of trying to ship a group of kids to Denver and then having the bus driver come back because we need them to go on a route and then send another bus down to get the kids to come back, if we have enough drivers, we can send one bus down, they can wait. Then if something happens, like the power goes out at an event, we got a bus there that can bring the kids back. Instead, we're doing all these double trips because we didn't have the people. So that's how you try to take advantage of the time. So that saved us in mile, and that's more efficient. In terms of ridership, we have 7,094 eligible riders, and we average, about a third, fourth of that, something like that, riders a day. And I just took all of our routes that we have and divided it by 22, 23, and got 45 students on a route per average. Some of our buses only hold 14 students, but that's just an average number. Most of our buses are 71 passenger buses.
Sorry, are you going to talk about eligibility? I was wondering.
Within our walk boundaries.
Okay.
Eligible, so within the walk boundaries we have set for elementary, middle, and high school.
Open
And then-
enrollment also doesn't count, right? Like, if they've open enrolled across the border, they're responsible for their own.
Yeah, they're responsible for their own.
With Toynton being the exception.
Yeah, for Toynton, we actually, remember we talked about Toynton shuttles? We actually have those built into routes, so they're not separate. So it's just a part of transporting kids.
And then there's a lot of specialized transportation for special education as well.
So, drivers eligible to cover routes. So let's look at this. That number 62 in the top left, top right, has been my dream number for 5 years. That's what we need to get to. You can see we have 50 routes, and I'll get to what those routes are made up of in a minute, but we have 50 daily routes that we run every day, getting kids to school. This is about a week or two ago. Eligible drivers, we had 52. Driver others are those that can be substitutes or can go out on routes if we need them, but they're not necessarily assigned to a route. So right now we have 52 eligible drivers for 50 routes, and then subs, they go when we need them, and so they can all drive. So they've got other work to do. Chad, you're a sub.
Yeah.
So like Chad's a sub. There were times a year ago, there's nobody in transportation. If you went there in the morning, there's no one to answer phones. Everybody's out. He's out, driving 5 days a week. We're not in that position anymore because we have our routes basically covered if we have 100% attendance. So where do we need these others? Well, part of the culture of transportation, Chad tracks attendance with them on a weekly basis. They talk about it. Your average attendance is around 90%, pretty much for drivers, and so you have to be able to account for that, because you don't just take a route off the board because one person's sick. Someone's got to step in, so we have to make sure we cover that. We also have 5 in training, which are good because they're eligible to enter the driving force, and then we often have 3 out for medical reasons, or in this case, we have 3 out with workers' comp. So in order to be able to cover this is the bread and butter. This is where we need to be reliable. We have to have more. Okay? And they have done a great job of combining routes to make sure it's in our capacity to be able to do that, and they're able to adjust routes a lot of times. If something out were short, then they compress routes. They can do that on a daily basis and be reactive. And so in terms of our routes, we have 30 regular routes through the district, and then we have 20 routes that are special education, which means that those routes have students that have IEPs on them. Some of them are combined. You wouldn't be able to tell. It's kind of a regular and a special ed route. But there are 20 routes that are set that have students that have specific IEPs and maybe specific needs that we have to make sure that we tend to. And so in addition to the 50 school routes, they do, and so here's my peers are listening, in addition to 50 school routes, there's 15 midday routes. So those are shuttles that would happen across the district. Chad, what's an example of one?
Majority of those midday routes are the preschool students that we transport. That's what the midday generally consists of, and we do have some in there for some of the high-end IEP students that may go to a specialized school for a period of time and then they'll come back to their home school or vice versa. But majority of those midday routes are the preschool route.
CTE.
CTE's in there as well, that midday CTE's, all that. So anything that's, we shuttle kids in between schools or taking them to and from school, so.
Yep, and then 10 after-school programming, so those are Century 21 programs. 10 of those, that's a day.
That's a day.
Yeah, that's a day. And then somewhere between 20 and 30 athletic trips per week, and then 20 field trips. And this stat of 104, that was the number of scheduled field trips last week. Okay, so how the heck do you do that? You know, that takes a lot of talent, takes a lot of hustle, takes a lot of scheduling over there to do that, and this is field trip time of year. And then so far this year, in addition, this doesn't include the 50 school routes every day. There's been 5,930 trips taken that have been scheduled to go all over the place. And then in addition, there are 175 McKinney-Vento students on route extensions. So what that means is those students may be on one of our routes, and then when that route is done, then it's extended to get that student to wherever they may need to be. Chad, what's an example of?
Well, we've had some students that like out in Gailton, Eaton, they may be here that they need to be transported out, so they may hop on and they go out to different surrounding communities that we take them out to, or just across town for say that our home school say is over here in Martinez and they live on 71st Avenue where we're transporting, that's where their foster care is at. Or
McKinney-Vento students are students who qualify for homelessness services, and so there's federal law and funding around McKinney-Vento. It's a McKinney-Vento Act that we provide transportation so that a student's education system is not disrupted when they become homeless. And so there's a lot of work we do there. There are times, when we start out maybe transporting a student quite a distance, maybe to the Denver area, and then we may work with that school district if it looks like that child's going to stay there in foster care or another placement to actually move their placement there because it might be better for the student. But the way the law works, if they are a District 6 student and then they're displaced to Gailton or wherever, we are obligated to provide transportation to continue their education here in District 6.
And see, currently we have a couple students that we are doing that with Windsor School District. So we pair with Windsor. We'll pick up the student in the morning from their home here because they're actually students in Windsor. They live in Greeley, so we take them and meet the Windsor bus, and then they transport to Windsor. Then in the afternoon, they do the whole route on their end. But at least we're helping, we co-op with Windsor as far as getting the student to a location where they can meet our bus. Their bus meets our bus, and it's all scheduled between our dispatchers and their dispatchers, and kind of a handshake thing. We've done this multiple times with Windsor. We've done it occasionally with Johnstown, Milliken, and we've done it with Denver. So it's just kind of however it works out for us.
So it just came back to this after looking at those numbers, and you can see the number of people with 52 eligible drivers doing that work. And then if we have extended routes, that person goes out an extended route, they may not be able to get back to do a midday route. Or if I have to go do a trip, I can do my morning, then do a trip, but then who does my afternoon? Someone's got to step in for that in the afternoon route. So it is a huge juggle, it is a huge puzzle, pieces, and it's all about numbers. How many people do you have to be able to do that? And right now, we're able to do it pretty well. We could alleviate some pressure on the system if we can get to 62. Then our fleet, and this has everything to do with MLO, we have totally flipped the age of our fleet. You've heard me tell a story, my first year at Greeley Central, here comes the Bondo bus that was in 1984. And I've never seen anything like it.
I bet you could hear it
And
before
we
you
had
died.
buses that were old, well-used, but we needed to update. So we've used MLO in the last 5 years, and this is kind of where our numbers lie, 0 to 5. Last 0 to 5 years, there's 46 buses that we purchased. And then you can kind of see the age as we go down. These down here, these two are not in service at this time. They're still on our books, but they're not in service. Okay, so here's also a place where we have to make sure we have to have enough numbers. So 54 of them buses are assigned of our 75. 6 are blacklisted, which means they're parts or they're for sale. They need to go bye-bye. They no longer run or no longer can be used. 8 of them are available for trips, so we got to hold for all those trips that we do, make sure they're not in routes. We can't just have enough buses to cover routes. We have to make sure we're covering trips. And then we'll always have some in inspection or repair. So these numbers kind of fluctuate. When I go over there now, rarely do we have 7 buses in there for inspection or repair. We just did this day when I was over there because of our number of mechanics can keep hitting them out.
Kent, can I ask a question
Yep.
about that? How does having a fleet that has 46 buses under 5 years old, how does that impact our reliability? I mean, I would think positively, but are there any numbers?
Ooh,
Okay.
right there. Take it right there. So, some of the advantages of having an updated fleet,
Choreographed.
yeah, is
didn't plan that.
first off, it's safety. So that 1984 bus technically was safe per 1984 safety rules. And as long as it runs, that's what you had to hold it to. So obviously in 2024, there's been some safety upgrades in buses, and so we have a more safe fleet. In terms of warranty, having buses on warranty, it's easier to get them fixed. There's less buses, Patrick. The newer fleet we have less buses in for repairs, the hard repairs than we normally would, so that helps keep buses in the rotation, so that's an advantage for efficiency. We have also, this isn't on here, but as we bought buses, we have bought more buses that are flexible in size, like that 71 passenger bus. We can do more in the city or trips, and even with some of our special ed programming, we obviously have to make sure we have some buses with ramps when we need those. But we're trying to be more flexible instead of having like all the little 14 passenger buses. Those aren't real efficient. They're good, we need some of them, but really we need those 71 passenger buses. Which is flexible use, safety, increased fuel economy, so we're saving money on that, and then lower emissions. And so since 2010, the diesel requirements on commercial vehicles, if you've heard of DEF, you see the little blue caps on fuel tanks. DEF is what do I say?
Like an additive.
It's an additive that makes diesel fuel cleaner, not burn cleaner, but by the time it comes out of the exhaust, it's cleaner. And so just talking about that in terms of emissions, all of our fleet goes through annual testing, and the DEF since 2010 reduces the nitrous oxides in the air, which is bad stuff. That's has to do with acid rain, things like that. And then there's what's called opacity testing, which is they take the exhaust that comes out and they shine a light beam through it, and solid particles in it get blocked back or get blocked, which causes how they measure opacity. So the lower your number is good. A 20% opacity test is a reject in terms of CDE for buses. I don't know what you're riding your pickup truck around in, it's probably maybe higher than that, but for school buses, we have to be 20% or below. And so here's just the chemistry, don't worry about it. I thought you'd like this stuff. Just look at the bottom, the emissions coming out of diesel. The diesel is just nitrogen, which 78% of the atmosphere we breathe is nitrogen. There's water vapor and then carbon dioxide, which in this case is only about 0.04%. And then here's the average opacity. So remember, what's the percent? Is 20% is a reject when we have these tested. So if you can look at all of our buses between 0 and 5 years have a testing of 0. So, we know we had a concern. Someone came to a board meeting and talked about choking out little kids at the bus stop. It's not true. And so even as you go across here, 16 to 20, the 2.6 would be 2.6% on an average. So in terms of emissions, with our diesel fuel, that test is not done on gas, but most of our fleet is diesel burners. And then our technology, we talked about this before, Traversa. We went to this for a variety of reasons, but 5 years ago we had this bus crash and the bus roster ended up in a cornfield and people went to 5 different hospitals. And so who was on the bus? No one knew. So now with Traversa, what we can do, you see student rostering. So this is all how we build routes now, and all how we set up routes. It's all electronic. It's easy to shift. But when kids scan on, or they can punch in a code, we know those students are on that bus. If something happens to a bus and they're in Denver, or if they're out of state, we know like this, who's on that bus, what's their parent contact, what's that information, we know that. Immediately, if we have to start making calls, we can organize it. That was a bad day when that happened. But it's also used for routing, how we build routes, all of our routes. It's also used for vehicle maintenance inventory, so we know when things need to get in and out of the shop. Is all a part of that, student rostering, and then GPS monitoring. So we'll show you how there's an app that goes with this program where parents can actually follow their bus. If their student's waiting, they can click on the app. Oh, your bus is 2 minutes away, you better get your butt moving. Or, oh, bus is 5 minutes down the road, we need to make another plan. And so here's an example of what the driver looks at. You can see this route was built for Dos Rios. If you look at the yellow at the top, it says 0 on. That means no one scanned on that bus. So if we were at stop 3, you might see 7 kids, so it would say 7 kids. Those kids are automatically in that roster. We know when those kids got on the bus and where they got on the bus. And have you ever heard sometimes after school, maybe a student doesn't get home? Somehow we can tell if they got on a bus, maybe they got on the wrong bus, we know that right away. Maybe they got off at the wrong stop, we know that right away. So this has helped us in a few of those situations as well. Then here's the app. It's going from Ride 360 app to Ride K-12 app. I have it on my phone, but I don't get to use it because I don't have kids anymore. Looks like it'd be fun to use, but this is actually, what you can see. You can see the location of where the bus is on a map, and a parent can view that on the app, so they have some real-time data. And then this is just an example of a route, so you can see down here in the lower right-hand corner, that's transportation. This bus went up to the north, did all that, picking up the kids there, delivered them to, looks like Northridge and Winograd, And then the quickest way home was to come back south and head back to the barn. So very easy to change and manipulate routes, unlike the way it used to be. They can do this, they've gotten really good, we don't have routers here today, but they can do this fairly quickly. And then there's this Colorado Electric School Bus Grant, which we submitted in June of 2023. We submitted for 4 Type A, those are 14 passenger buses. The reason we did that is electric buses aren't here for long distances. They're not for mountains or extreme temperatures. So we thought, well, let's use buses where we can keep them kind of close to home. The cost of those is almost 3 times the cost of a regular bus. But we have this in this grant for CD, state of Colorado. And then also the charging stations we have in the grant. We have heard that we are kind of a recipient of the grant, but we wrote this because we also need to get power. Our site cannot handle charging stations, especially fast charging stations. So Excel has a grant called the FEET grant, which would provide a new transformer and power into the site to the chargers, which were a part of the other grant. We just found out 2 weeks ago that this grant, which we did this in tandem, this grant has gone away. Is maybe changing into something else. So we're waiting to hear what that is. But for the other part of the grant, we haven't signed anything yet. So we're still waiting for the CDE to get, this is a slow moving process here. So by the time we get that, we may have to make a decision on that because this is an expensive proposition as well to do this. So this would allow us to have charging stations that don't draw off the facility. It's a lot. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
I do. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, and just a simple question. You have your ideal number of staff, drivers, et cetera. What's your ideal number for buses? Have you reached that?
We need a few more buses. We need to stay ahead of those curves of all the things. We have to do the trips. So, so we've slowed down. So we were buying 10, we bought 10 and then 10 and then 10. You can see how many we bought in 5 years. I think we have for next year 2 and then probably 2 after that. And so now we're probably at a slow add because we're in pretty good shape in terms of health of our bus fleet. So it's probably, if we have 76 buses right now, we probably need to get to probably low 80s.
As a district, of course, we know we're growing,
Mhm.
so we're
Right.
going to have to
But
build that in.
as we reduce the number of those 14 passenger buses and move to the more flexible size of a bus, then that affects the numbers too. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Great. Thanks.
We did recommend slowing the purchase of buses just a bit as we face some of the budget cuts that we're making next year. So, we had been buying each year multiple numbers of buses and then we ran into some supply chain issues there for a bit of time. So we have slowed it just a bit. But that is in the mill levy override. We will come back to it. It's really important that we never allow the fleet to get in the kind of condition it was a decade ago. It's just really important that you got to keep up.
And so I'll just add a little something, because I can't hit on it a little bit with the deadhead, but we may have the staff to keep our trip drivers down there, but we may not have the buses to do that. So that's another reason why we may be bringing buses back. So that's why if we stay in front of that when we have staff that's able to do it after school and we keep somebody down at the Denver, so to speak, that we would have a bus that's equipped for whatever they can do that day. That's another reason why we bring buses back too. We may not have the inventory, if you want to go that way.
Mhm.
Let's see, so kudos to you guys. I didn't realize that you brought in all the benefits of those extra bonuses and whatnot. So, You guys did a great job with that. That was a nice surprise because I only knew that we increased the pay increase. But how are we now in comparison with other school districts for the pay and benefits?
My friend behind me here tries to keep us competitive.
Yeah,
So we feel like we're trying to be at the top of competitive, and, you know, it seems like we get a step above, like we're the top, and then someone catches up. And so we do, I think, a good job of always monitoring that and making sure we're competitive.
And just today, Megan and I were looking at classified pay to begin to prepare to make some recommendations to you all around raises for classified, and we know we have to remain competitive in each of our classified areas, transportation included.
Yeah.
So then I guess, I mean, we've already kind of addressed the bus issue, but you have those 6 that are blacklisted. How urgent or when are you needing to have those replaced by?
Well, they're not used right now, so we're operating okay, but that's where, you know, we won't have that many blacklisted as we go forward because they're all so new. These are like the bad of the bad.
Yeah.
So there's never a
you know,
day you're short.
We're not
No,
short.
we're not short, but we can't stop
Yeah.
buying buses.
Yeah, we aren't short.
We don't need to buy 10 a year.
We may be short just to the extent if we have, 7 buses in the shop and we have a bunch of stuff going on. But again, with the shop folk turning it over, they can get a bus
Yeah.
in, and if it's just real minor, they get it turned right back out for the next route.
Yep, that's
So
right.
the blacklist ones are just basically when they're being parted out, or they didn't pass the emissions test, or the engine shot, or the transmission is just gonna cost too much money to replace it or rebuild it, so to speak. It's just easier to replace it than go. So that's kind of what those blacklist ones are.
That goes to our number of mechanics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keeping that shop full is
It's
really
key.
important.
Lastly, who is your scheduler? Who does all that?
Our dispatchers,
Yeah, the main
Well,
people.
she
Who
was-
puts it together, I guess?
she was supposed to be here today. Her name is Wanda Shrees. She was going to come today, but unfortunately we had some last minute changes where she's out driving her out this afternoon. But so she gets to call in, or all from the athletic directors or school secretaries. Diane was a big part. Diane did that prior to, mix and matching the pieces. The route side, generally that's our routing department. They'll look at what students are needing riding and location and run through the Traversa part to make the most efficient route for them. So they schedule the route stuff, but Wanda's the one that gets the trips, and occasionally Diane will slide in and help out.
Well, it's much impressive, so thank you guys. That's a lot of work. That's intimidating to see how many routes you guys run in a day. I didn't realize it was that intense, so.
It can be. But thank you.
One other question for your drivers, is there an age cap on drivers like there would be like for commercial transportation?
Are you talking on both ends?
Yeah, let's say both ends. Yeah,
Okay,
let's
well,
talk about
so for the state of Colorado, you can get a CDL of 18.
18.
But for the city, or for us, it's 21 just because of insurance purposes. But like Kent showed Cammie, the intern, Kent, she was able to get her CDL. So not only is she getting her mechanics experience, she also obtained her CDL Class B, P and S, or just the P, because she can't do the school bus piece yet, because it's about the endorsement. They can't transport, obviously, at that point for our insurance purposes. Now, there's districts outside of here that do all that. Now, you can be as old as you want to be to continue to drive, as long as you pass a DOT physical. If you're able to pass a DOT physical, you can drive.
Is that every 2 years, the physical still?
Yeah, unless you're on some kind of medical waiver, because now they've lightened that up a little bit, where like, it used to be if you were, diabetic or had some kind of, cardiac issue, or, I think the only one right now, and Shatter, you can correct me on this one, but the only one that they haven't given a waiver for is schizophrenia. But other than that, everything else, it might be 6 months to a year, but most of them are 2 year check.
All 52 40-hour employees?
No, I think we have 45 of those currently that are 40 hours, and I'll touch a little bit on that, because people are, well, how can you do all that? And we saw the middays we Kent had, but we also took advantage of some of that too, as far as maintaining our buses. We have a cleaning crew now, a full cleaning crew that goes out and makes sure the buses are cleaned inside and out, waxed, maintained that way. We've actually have somebody that is in charge of making sure the cameras on all buses are functional, starting to learn how that works, because that was a big key. Like, someone wants to see footage and the camera's outdated or not functioning. So we put somebody on that position. The other one that we've added to was we saw a big need, especially through short times when we were having other departments help us answer phone calls, that the bilingual was a tough deal. So we've added 2 assistant positions, one from 9 to noon or 9 to 1, and another one from 1 to 6. After their routes, they'll come in and take just bilingual calls, because that was such a need. And now not only Jesus and our other routing personnel, but we've added 2. So we're providing opportunities for drivers and monitors that want to do the 40 hours, some other things that will benefit us. So we're kind of, making sure we're getting the use out of those 40. It's not those people standing around twiddling their thumbs. We're finding uses. So we've just kind of pinpointed areas that we were deficient in. So we've added a few things that we needed to take care of. Yeah.
Does transportation manage the little white activity buses, or are they?
So that's
Ish.
some yes, some no. Most of those are now out to schools. If they go to the high schools, I think they're all going to eventually get to 2,
Yeah.
but it's all managed by the schools at that point. Now we do have some that we will still maintain. Our shop guys will maintain them, but other than that,
For those, you just need a small vehicle permit. So Shatter does a testing back there, and so we like to get 5, 6, however many people at a building that can drive that, and then they can take them. They have to be 14 students or less, and so that alleviates taking a huge bus someplace. If, we had a debate team with 6 kids that had to go, if they can drive that themselves.
Not the kids.
Not the kids.
oh, we hope not.
So we have more of those that we've ordered actually almost 2 years ago, are just now starting to come in. So we're making sure that all the high schools have them, because they use them the most. But yeah, you don't need a CDL for that. You just need a small vehicle permit.
Any other questions? Kent, has the environment gotten easier to recruit and hire buses? I know we're doing a great job and changed the way that we've done that and upping pay and incentives and things like that, but is it getting?
Jesus is saying yes.
It's easier. Sorry? Is it easier to find bus drivers?
Well, I think with the options that we're given, yes.
Yeah.
Several options. You could choose to work just for 9 months, the academic year, or the calendar year, 12 months, can't say. That's a selling point. And, the other flexibility is that Chad allows them to come in like 9 o'clock, some people come in 9 to 6. And so 6 hours a day versus 8 hours, another selling point. So yeah, they all work for our benefit. District 6, they agree.
Yeah.
Why do you think it has about the age cap?
Yeah, and Jesus brought up a good point that we didn't cover.
I had mine.
I can see you with 71 kids yelling at you.
71 kids.
Yeah, Jesus brought up a good point. We did do that too this year too. So not only with the 40-hour 12, is that there's also that we saw a need for. And we've talked about it in our community, our transportation committees off and on, for like single parents that needed to get kids to and from school. So we've offered some positions where you can come in, if you want 40 hours, you can come in at 9 and work 9 to 6, so they cover some of our midday routes, our after-school routes, and our PM routes, or they may be a sub driver where they come in at 9 and they may do whatever we have for them to do. On the other turn, we've also had some where they need to have the afternoon out because their kids are in athletics or after-school activities that they need to get to, so they'll come in at 6 in the morning and work until, they're 8 hours, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock. So we do try to be real kind of flexible too. We just keep the numbers pretty balanced to that, but it's one of those things that we saw. Again, we looked at what are we hearing at job fairs, what are we hearing in interviews, where can we say, hey, where can we, people want to come work here, but let's kind of see let's kind of meet them in the middle. And can we do it? Sure. So it just takes, again, going back to that whole puzzle piece, where can we slide these folks in? So.
Oh, let's not forget the 1,000 reasons.
Oh yeah, the 1,000 reasons.
Reasons to sign up.
So every bus has a driver and a monitor?
Not every bus, but as you can see, Ken put up that we had 50 routes and 30-plus monitors. So we try to, but most of them are, if they're monitor required with the IEPs, they get priority. Then there's others that we float around a little bit, put them on routes that we may have maybe a new driver that may need assistance, or there might be some areas of problems on the bus, or trying to set up a seating chart or badges. So we do move them around quite a bit. But yeah, it would be nice if we'd have 50 monitors to go with every route. I know our drivers would like that. It's just, it's 30 to 35 is probably fairly reasonable.
So as part of the training for drivers even, sort of that behavioral management?
Oh, yeah.
piece? Yeah.
Yeah, so everything we do from the start they walk in the door, their first day, is we train them how to be a driver first, and then we provide student management training, we provide them CPI training, we provide them with CPR training, and then also and we have a position, which is a student management position. Jesus used to man that piece too, but it's a full-time position that they'll reach out to parents, they'll hand out suspensions, they'll work with the school staff to make sure that behaviors are handled however the school and kind of collectively say, does a student need to be in school? Can we work with this? So we have that. So yeah, they get all the training they need in-house.
Training and testing.
Huh?
In-house training and testing.
Yeah, we do all we also have 2 CDL compliant testers. Shadra's one of those. So we don't even go outside when it comes to testing. So we do all the training, all the testing, so we don't pay for, all we do is pay for the trainings and the license. And other than that, it's pretty much self-contained.
Grow your own.
Go our own, that's absolutely, and that's why I always say when sometimes the drivers leave is it's like, it's because somebody else knew that we groom them nicely, I guess we want to say. But most of them are staying.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been a monumental task, getting us where we are today. Where we were, I don't know, 8 years ago, when I think my first meeting with District 6, I was on Citizens Advisory Committee for the MLO in 2016, and the first meeting we had was Brad came in and talked about the state of our bus fleet and what the needs are, and it was scary. I mean, not in an unsafe way, but just in thinking that if we didn't do something, we wouldn't have a transportation department. The fleet was.
So we were worried about.
was that bad? And then as soon as we got the buses, bus drivers became critical and a critical shortage. And I know that you guys have done a lot to recruit bus drivers. And so to see this and to see the fleet that we have and the number of drivers that we have, and that we can meet our obligations and transportation obligations to our students. Again, kudos. I don't know if everybody appreciates the amount of work that's gone into getting us where we are today. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to have the board come out and visit transportation. I hope the staff will be there at least part of the time, because I really think they should hear from you all. The staff and the leadership, they have done this. I mean, they really have. And you're right. We weren't sure that we were going to be able to keep transportation in-house. We were having conversations about outsourcing transportation, and the transportation folks said to us, let us help you. Let us help you figure this out together. And with Ken's leadership and really just the leadership of the team out there, it has been a significant shift. And I will tell you that I am so proud of them and so proud of the work that they've done. And, they send me pictures on the weekends while they're out recruiting and out showing off the bus and recruiting drivers. And, it is a group to be proud of, and I'm excited to have you all go visit the department here in a few days.
Yeah, that's next Wednesday, so if you can make it, guys, 9 o'clock next Wednesday. It's always great to see. Any other questions? All right, we'll let you guys go. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys. Great job.
Thank you.
We'll debrief the work session, so Ms. Sullivan, why don't you start us off?
I have oversimplified in my little brain how the buses work, so I'm quite impressed with this. This is quite a adventure that they've taken on, but I'm actually really impressed with what they've done with it. So the whole presentation, I really am just blown away with. So thank you for all you guys do, because I've oversimplified what your guys' job was over the years, not realizing how intricate your little web was. So thank you for what you've done.
Brenda?
Yeah, just wanted to thank you guys for listening to us and making those tweaks on the strategic plan wording and all that. And again, also wanted to thank you guys. I wasn't here 10 years ago. I know an MLO happened between then and now. And so our voters also wanted to thank them for giving us the dollars to turn that graph around from the old buses to now the new buses. So I'm thankful for the dollars, thankful for the leadership, and it looks like our district is in a really good spot.
And I'll add, Dr. Campos-Spitzy, that it really was the mill levy override that was that first big lift on pay for our classified employees. I mean, they are in the mill levy override, all of our classified employees, and we couldn't do it without that.
Mr. Norwood?
I thought having a sticky note with 3 or 4 things to do a day was a chore. It's amazing what you guys do, really. That's just incredible. I bet Rubik's Cube looks simple to you guys, so. And I do have one other thing to add to the calendar. April 30th, Marine Corps JROTC Awards Night from 6 to 7, if anybody wants to go. So, forgot to bring that up on the calendar.
Is it at Northridge?
It's at
Amy, will
Northridge,
you
yes.
reach out and get that information, please? Thank you.
It's April 30th?
April 30th, yep.
What time,
What,
do you know?
what time? Yeah.
Amy will get it out to you
6 to
guys.
7 p.m.
Well, she'll get it out too.
Major said he was going to be sending something out, so.
I'd like to go to that.
Kyle?
Yeah, just want to thank the Transportation Department. Another thing they didn't really hit on is the Federal Motor Carriers Association changed the CDL rules, and that's one of the big things. So there's like a nationwide shortage of CDL drivers. So the way to get a CDL is a lot different than it used to be. So it's not something that schools are facing alone. It's nationwide. It was kind of a terrible timing with COVID and all that too. It's something that's been in the process for 7 or 8 years, but just came out in 2021 or 22. But it's to see that you guys are that well staffed is extremely amazing. I have 3 or 4 CDL drivers of my own, and they're worth their weight in gold. So, and they all know it. That's the problem. They so you're at their mercy, and so this is exciting. This sort of stuff is right up my alley, and it's nice to hear you guys are doing such a great job.
Doran?
Well, I just ditto to what has already been said. It would be interesting to hear from the seasoned veterans in transportation then and now reflections. I know my own as a staff member, I was part of that group that had students. We would take them down to Denver, and then the bus would have to return to Greeley, and then we'd have to wait down there with the kids until we were picked up again. And that was trying some of those times. And just kudos to the transportation folks for keeping it in-house, keeping it here in School District 6, the vision of the superintendent and others. I'm really proud to be a part of the district and see these innovations, and that goes hand in hand with this document that you showed us again today, Dr. Piltz. So just really positive, good feeling. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mash?
Yeah, thank you for the update. I always love getting the report to the community in the mail, and so I'm glad to hear, Teresa left, but I'm glad to hear that it's going to be in such alignment with our strategic plan, and I think it just makes it really tangible for our community to know where our focus is and what we're working on. And I'm glad to hear that there's Traversa that helps with all that scheduling, because that just like blows my mind. I was like imagining a giant whiteboard, and then I was like, no, they use a spreadsheet. That's more high tech. I'm glad that it's even better than that. That is just, yeah, so many parts and pieces. So thank you very much. And I've been, very happy to tell the community, no.
We got to watch.
You got a board too? Then you got it all. It's like, you know, the planning room. But yeah, it feels so good to be able to tell the community that, no, we have bus drivers. No, we're fulfilling our routes and we're getting kids. And I'm really pleased with the busing for Toynton so that truly our kids, wherever they live, have the opportunity to go to whichever school they would like to choose. So, thank you.
Thank you. Great meeting, everybody. Our work session is adjourned, and we'll be back at 6 o'clock for a business meeting.